All right. Hey.
Hello, Mr. Anderson.
Hello.
Or is it Sir these days, I guess?
Well, my knighthood isn't official, so whichever you please.
Yeah, alright. What the hell are we doing?
Yeah, we should probably start out by explaining what's going on. We basically decided doing a podcast might be fun.
Indeed. So here we are.
Yeah.
Recording a podcast again.
And we decided to do it that we would both rack up some questions for each other.
Yeah, we're doing sort of a dual interview kind of thing. Because that'll likely spur some discussion. And yeah, I think it'll be fun.
Well, I'm hopped up on energy drinks, so I'm ready.
And I'm low down on beer, so I'm also ready.
Awesome. You want to go first?
This will be great. Sure. Why not? As I wrote, we have shared these questions previously just to prepare ourselves.
Aw, kayfabe, man, kayfabe.
Come on, you gotta be transparent here. Anyway, so some lightweight stuff. What games are you currently playing and or streaming? God, this is so official sounding.
Yeah. I am streaming... Technically, I'm streaming Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but I'm on hiatus from that because...
Oh, really?
One of the last boss fights basically made me rage quit the game and made me want to quit streaming, kill myself, burn down the universe.
The best kind of game.
Yeah, so I'm coming back to that when I'm a little less butthurt. I've done my first stream of Castlevania Lament of Innocence, which is like a PlayStation 2 jumpy, hacky, slashy, 3D beat-em-up kind of Castlevania. Kind of God of War meets Castlevania. That's fun. And I have my ongoing project to finish Dark Souls on stream.
And how's that going?
I am in Anor Londo, where you have to run the rafters. And it's going like shit because I'm using a Zweihander. And whenever I swing my Zweihander, I step off the beams and fall to my death. So I could just switch to another weapon for that one bit, but I'm kind of a purist. I'm doing a Zweihander run, damn it. I want to use my Zweihander. So I need to find out a trick.
Yeah. Just roll more. Rolling's always the answer.
That doesn't kill people, though.
Well, you can push them off the edge.
Yeah, true. Good point.
So, anything else you're picking up? What's up next, basically?
Oh, I'm also playing Witcher, but that's off stream because everybody's doing Witcher these days. But I kind of got into Witcher 1.
Ah.
Of my upcoming projects, I have promised to do Batman Arkham Origins after I've done Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, so I want to do Arkham Origins, and I'm hoping to get it done sometime this year. I'm going to do Prince of Persia: Sands of Time at some point, Prototype at some point, and I have a pet project. I want to do Amnesia: The Dark Descent, but I've kind of made up my mind that I want to do a marathon stream and try to complete it in a single sitting.
You save it for October, man. That's perfect.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. I'll do that. I will. It's official. I'm going to do a marathon stream in October and finish all of Amnesia: The Dark Descent from start to finish.
If you can remember it.
Well, once this podcast goes out, hopefully like massive amounts of people will hear it, like 3, maybe 4 people, and they'll pester me about it.
Did you just ignore my joke, or did you not pick up on it? I'm not sure which.
I did not pick up on it. I am not a
I did an amnesia joke.
Yes, you did. It's very clever now, but I...
No, it was not clever. It will never be clever. But the way you reacted to it, it just went straight over your head.
I'm sorry. I forgot to react.
Yes, you did. Good. All right. Well, that's it for that question, I guess. If you want to move on to one of yours.
All right. My first question is, and this is probably the question that you have heard the most in the past few years. Is this the ladder goat guy?
How did you get in here?
No, is this the ladder goat guy? Or actually, I want to ask you, what did it feel like to become the ladder goat guy? I mean, from what I understand, you went from being a nobody streamer to suddenly being kind of a semi-big thing overnight. What was it like with all that sudden attention?
I'm not sure if semi-big is even, like... I'm not sure it's even reached that size at this point. I guess it's like 7 or 9 million views or something right now, but that's compared to like the bajillion views like cute kitty sneezing gets on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't think it's big now, but I think it was kind of big when it broke out, wasn't it?
Yeah, and in comparison, I think like the views I'd gotten before were like 56 or something, and then suddenly like 2 million overnight, pretty much. It was pretty incredible in many ways. It was I suppose a little bit scary. Back then I was a lot sort of more private, I suppose. I try to keep my identity hidden and stuff, but so like becoming that big and then suddenly being recognized by people from real life was kind of scary in a way.
Oh, you had a few moments like that?
Yeah. Like my cousin recognized me and showed my aunt, and like we talked about it during dinner sometime. It was really awkward, but yeah, I mean, other than that, it's really fun. It's great to know that so many people find something that I did enjoyable, you know?
So follow-up question, did your family watch your other various videos about all the racism and homophobia and stuff and confront you on that?
I'm not sure. I hope not, and I think not. I think like a few of the people from real life, like friends and the cousin I mentioned, have probably seen a few videos. I remember him talking about like the cooking videos I did at some point. But it's not like come back to bite me or anything, and I'm kind of thankful for that. I'm not sure it would, like, even if, you know, they knew or whatever. It sounds like I'm trying to keep it a secret. I'm not really anymore, but even if, with quotes around it, they knew, I don't think anything would really come of it. It'd just be oh, that's kind of weird. Well, okay. Kind of situation, you know?
I guess they already know you're kind of weird, so it wouldn't shock them.
Yeah, I suppose so. Right, was that it?
I think so.
Or do you have any follow-up questions? It got so awkwardly silent there for a moment.
No, I already asked my follow-up question.
Alright. Well, let me move on then. Moving from video games to video games.
Oh yeah.
Other than Street Fighter, which I assume that you're hyped for, just because it's you, and Street Fighter is like 50% of what you play as far as I know. Are there any upcoming releases you're looking forward to?
Well, I'm not hyped for Street Fighter because it's not Hyper Edition yet. Ha ha ha. Capcom joke. I don't really follow the release cycle. I usually learn that new games come up either because they pop up on my Steam or because the community starts talking about it. So the only game I'm really looking forward to, apart from Street Fighter V, is a game that's been teased for over a year now, I think, which is Cyberpunk 2077. And
has it really been teased for over a year, or was it teased once and then
it was teased once. I think it was a year ago.
Yeah.
Release when it's ready, as they say.
Yeah.
The thing is, that's based on the Cyberpunk 2020 role-playing game that I played in my teenage years. So it's kind of like a new game that looks really hot shit, but at the same time it's this huge cup of nostalgia for me. So it's kind of the same thing for me that the Shadowrun game is for people who grew up playing Shadowrun.
Makes sense. I don't know, I mean, we only saw a pre-rendered cinematic of that, I guess, but I think CD Projekt Red was in charge of it, or they were publishing it or something, which is automatic hype for me, to be honest.
I don't even know my developers. I know Bullfrog used to make good strategy games. That's about as far as I go. Sid Meier likes his turn-based.
Yeah, all right.
I'm a very casual video game fan. I love playing games, and I get really hyped for them, and I get really into them, but I don't really know developers and get into the whole developmental cycle. I don't follow, pre-release screenshots and all that stuff. That just kind of goes over my head. I just play the games.
All right. I'm actually gonna cheat, and I'm gonna ask you, since we got onto the topic, about some of your favorite games growing up. You spoke about Bullfrog, so I assume you played, Theme Hospital, Dungeon Keeper?
Not Theme Hospital, Dungeon Keeper indeed. Dungeon Keeper Gold Edition is one of my all-time greats. I played a lot. I mean, I started out, I had a PC for my 6th birthday.
So in 54, did you own one of those Brainiac computers?
In 88. And
man, you're fucking old.
Did you know there were ports back then?
Ports?
Yeah.
Yeah, they released something on Commodore, it got ported to Amiga.
Yeah, well, actually, my first PC ran Donkey Kong.
Wow.
Yeah, so there were console ports even back then. And they were fine.
Yeah, makes a nice difference, I guess.
They weren't ass. Of course, it's kind of hard to fuck up Donkey Kong.
True.
Or is it Donkey Kong now? I don't know which is the official.
Yeah, Grow Dong, I think, is the new one.
XCOM, not the first one, but Terror from the Deep. Very big on that. Doom. Oh man, Doom. Doom was a game changer.
Duke Nukem was a game changer.
Duke
Doom
Nukem
was
was
alright,
another
but it was
game
basically Wolfenstein with better shotgun.
And demons and yeah.
Yeah, but there were sexy babes in Duke Nukem, and you could look up and down.
The thing is,
that was amazing.
Doom is the game I sat around in my room playing for hours and hours and hours. Duke Nukem is the game I sat around with friends in an internet cafe and just... well, they would shoot each other. I would just be the guy who always tried to find the most dickish place to put the trip mines.
Yes, yes.
Which is why I got such an immense hard-on when I got to play Half-Life multiplayer, and I could suddenly put the trip mines on the floor and the ceiling as well.
Oh man, I remember like developing a sub-game of Half-Life where we just tried to place as many tripwires or trip mines in a closed room as possible without activating them. Like almost like a co-op game, like a puzzle game. It was a lot of fun.
I used to have this strat if we were like, I mean, it didn't work one-on-one, but if we were like 7 guys in a map, I would go for whichever is the bottom-most level of the map, and I would place a bunch of tripwires there. And I don't know what they're called, the creepy crawlies you could have as weapons, the small...
Snorks, I think.
Snorks.
Or something. Snarks.
And then I would just spam those, because people... How do you deal with snarks? You back up while shooting them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, some fucker put trip mines everywhere. Good luck. Yes. Oh.
Alright. Huh? Alright. Well... On to you, I suppose. This is the transitions here are really awkward.
Yeah, they
we
are.
need to do something about these. But anyway, your question.
Hopefully we'll get better with practice.
Yes.
This is a 2-part question.
Oh no, that's not allowed.
Yes, it is.
Cheater.
My rules. What do you want to be when you grow up, assuming that's the case? And as part of that, do you think streaming and or video games will ever reach a point when they are no longer a thing in your life?
I don't think I'll ever grow up. I thought I would when I was smaller, but then I did and I didn't, so I don't think I ever will. If any of that makes any sense.
Perfect sense to me.
Basically, I have existed on this earth for more years, but I never grew up.
Yeah. But do you have any future plans, like something you'd like to do, career or achievement, something like that?
No. It's kind of sad, I guess, but... Not really. My prospects are kind of shitty.
I mean, you already became the ladder goat guy. You pretty much peaked already.
Yeah, I peaked in 2009.
You're never gonna top that.
Exactly. No, I mean, I'm like going back to finish my basically college degree because I dropped out, so I'm doing that right now. And then maybe I'll go to university and find a desk job or some shit and kind of just drudge through it because you need money. And then I'll come home and my life will begin and I will play video games and stream. I don't think I'll ever stop playing video games.
What about streaming?
When I was a kid,
you think you'll ever stop streaming?
I hope not. Maybe. I mean, you never know. There might be some vast change. I mean, they could change like copyright law or something and basically shut down streaming unless you have permission and something like that. But otherwise, no, I don't think I will. Even if I end up streaming for like 3 people, because everything has collapsed and everybody has like left and disappeared and forgotten me, I think I'd still be streaming.
Yeah, I remember hearing you in another podcast where you said that basically even if you're not streaming, you're still streaming because you kind of can't get out of the mindset of it.
Yeah, definitely. Like whenever I play games on my phone or single player or whatever, I'm kind of like commentating in my head as if I am streaming. I'm kind of like imagining what I would be saying in this situation if I was streaming, that kind of thing.
I don't do that as much. I'm not as damaged, but one thing streaming has done for me is that whether I'm streaming or playing alone, I rage a lot more. And I feel it's a good thing because before I would refuse to rage and the anger would just kind of build up to a point and then I would just get really tired of the games. Whereas now I rage early when I can still laugh at it. So for me, it's actually, I get less mad at games because I rage more at them.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
right, moving on.
Yes.
If that's all right. The video games industry. You already said you're not that into it, I suppose. You don't look at pre-releases or follow the media or anything. But from your semi-outsider perspective, are there any trends going on right now that you particularly like or dislike?
Yeah, I feel there are, from my point of view, 2 major trends in video games. And one is horrible, and one is pretty cool, even though it has a downside. The horrible part is that I feel especially when you're talking the big companies, the people who actually do this for a living, a step in developing a video game is discussing profit maximization.
Mm-hmm.
And on one point, fair cop. They are a company, they are there to make money. But I see this growing trend where making money kind of steamrolls the idea of making a good game. They don't try to make money by making a good game. They try to make money at the cost of making a good game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Although I'm not sure if that's really something new. Ever since we got out of like the garage development of like the 80s and early 90s, hasn't it kind of been moving that way? Or do you think there was more sort of room for individual creators and like not geniuses, but like inspired minds to sort of work their field in the past, whereas now it's just like EA corporate boardroom, let's put in microtransactions to trick the people to pay more money kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, video game developers have always been out to make money, at some level. But I feel if you go the last, 5 years, 10 years, I really think the degree to which DLCs, forced DLCs, DLCs that were clearly a part of the game they just took out so it could be a DLC, microtransactions, all that kind of stuff. I feel that stuff might have been there earlier if we'd had the technology, but we do now, and I feel like at some point it detracts from the game. You can't, it's not that they allow you to buy optional extra content that makes your game better, it's that they take stuff out and make the game worse and then allow you to buy it back.
Yeah, definitely. I assume you've seen that picture of the Mona Lisa, like DLC in the past.
Yeah, and
that is very accurate, I must say.
However, I want to turn something back, because you said something about individuals being geniuses and so on, like the rising stars, and I feel that is a really positive thing in games over, let's say, the last 10 years, basically since Steam, is the availability and visibility of indie games. I feel that in the next years, we're not going to have anything as big, but I feel the big thing we're gonna have in video games is smaller versions of the Mojang story.
Yeah, makes sense.
People who are basically hyper nerds who really want to make something fun, and they make something because they want to make it, because they think it's a cool idea, and then it just kind of takes off. You already have that with some things that are niches. Dwarf Fortress is an excellent example. It's this... I mean, if you're not a video game nerd, it's probably a really obscure game, and it's hard as fuck to get into, but it has this really devoted people. I mean, all the people who have played Dwarf Fortress are super enthusiastic about it. Except
the ones who failed at... they couldn't figure out how to select a dwarf or something, because the game is so fucking obscure.
Yeah, but the people who actually played it, people who managed to play it, they all love it.
Yeah, it has a very dedicated sort of fan base and community around it.
And I think that basically we're going to see AAA games get more money gougy and more shitty, and that's going to cause a decline in like the professional level of the industry, or the high level professional level. Mm-hmm. And indie developers are going to take more and more off. We're going to have more and more growing communities and niches. The whole internet bringing weird people together is going to really help kind of obscure games. And I really feel like internet games are the AAA games of the 2020s.
The flip side of the argument that AAA development is going to die, in my opinion, is Kickstarter. I'm not sure, I suppose you don't follow it, but you might have seen
I know what
recently
it is.
That, but these cases in particular, fairly recently there was like a Mega Man reboot that Capcom didn't control, but the guy who made Mega Man decided to make a Kickstarter and create his own company, because he wanted to make a Mega Man game again and he couldn't. And then there was a Castlevania one, the same kind of story, where I suppose the director of the game from Konami left, created his own company, and made a Kickstarter, because he really wanted to make a 2D Castlevania game again.
So creators trying to make games going around the whole developer thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like the creative minds behind the process. Even like, I don't know, like Call of Duty or whatever. Even the most sort of corporate greedy thing. I suppose there is somebody who has a creative mind in it somehow. And these people are kind of leaving these companies to move on to sort of crowdfunding and create smaller companies, stuff like that.
That's not what I said, but it's very close to what I meant about the whole indies being more accessible. You have people who are enthusiastic about making something kind of needing less middlemen to get the stuff out to the consumer.
Yeah, I think that's one of the bigger parts. The fact that you can these days, you don't need to have a factory to print, CD cases and manuals and discs and send them out to stores. You don't need GameStop. You don't need a publisher. You can just put your game on Steam and people can get it.
I mean, you said like the Mega Man guy. I mean, that is huge. That's a huge IP. Let's assume that takes off and he somehow gets around the whole copyright stuff. I have no idea how that.
Well, he wouldn't make a Mega Man game. I think
he would make a platform jump and shoot man game.
Yeah, exactly. But I forget what it's called, but it was funded. I know that much.
If that gets a little more exposure in media, I mean, even a lot of people who don't play video games grew up with Mega Man.
Yep.
So that's going to be an indie game because he's not using a publisher. He's fucking crowdfunding it. But it's also going to be a AAA game because it's Mega Man.
I'm not sure that's the definition of AAA I'd use, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's going to have the impact, the credibility of it.
Yeah, it will be what the industry calls a blockbuster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I feel stuff like that is the future. Stuff that kind of goes around the whole AAA machine.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Then again, that's not to say that all AAA games are bad.
Oh,
or
absolutely
even
not.
Most, but there's definitely a trend where customer satisfaction, or like, how do you put this? Like the players are treated like, not a revenue stream perhaps, but like...
cash cows.
Yeah, I didn't want to put it that bluntly, but kind of, yeah. Where the game is definitely a product you're selling to your consumers. You're not making a game for gamers. You're making a product for consumers.
I mean, there are some gray area, of course, but you'll agree with me, often you can look at something like a DLC or an expansion, and it's pretty clear to see whether they made it because they had some extra content they wanted to give us, and they want to get paid for it, or they made it because they needed to find some way to get us to pay for something.
Horse armor. Sorry.
I mean, that's the meme about the topic, pretty much.
Yeah, and I don't think that's especially egregious because the horse armor is just a fucking it's a skin. It doesn't do anything. When you pull out content from the game that's on the disc that you're selling for your fucking PS4,
Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Yeah, or Mortal Kombat or whatever, really. And then you have to pay extra money to get get the unlocks that are already in the game, that have already been developed by the time the game is shipped.
Yeah. I mean, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, not the Ultimate Edition, but the first one they made, had literally 2 on-disc DLC characters, and I think they were like $8 a pop.
Yep.
And
I mean, if you look at Mortal Kombat, you don't even need to go back to that. Is it Goro that's only for pre-orders or something, and then you can buy him for like $5 on the side or something like that? Yeah,
he's basically a DLC that pre-orders get for free.
That is also... I hate pre-orders. Pre-orders are fucking retarded. I really hate that companies go so...
Honestly, to me...
They really sort of force pre-orders these days.
To me, it just automatically feels dishonest because it feels like the game, the developer is trying to do everything to make me buy their game before I get to see if I like it or not.
Exactly,
and to me,
buy something sight unseen.
That's a smelly kind of smell, because that smells like they want to hide something.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I'm the opposite of that. I'm try before I buy. I'll go on record and saying I pirate role-playing games and video games, and then I actually sometimes, if I like them, if I don't like them, I try them and I stop playing them.
Yep.
If I do like them, then I often buy them. I actually emailed a guy who made like an indie RPG and said, yo, I'm in Europe. There's no way to buy your book in Europe. Fix it. I want to buy your book. I pirated it. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm all for try before you buy, and pre-order, especially as you say when they're trying to force it, it feels like the opposite of try before you buy.
Yep. I especially also hate when you get a pre-order bonus. That's basically like a cheat. I'm not sure if you were around, but if you
GTA 5, $3.5
paid
million.
any attention, yeah, for example, GTA 5 or Dark Souls 2, where you pre-ordered and you get like starting weapons for all new characters. That's bullshit.
Lame.
And I couldn't not pre-order GTA 5 because of the way I got the key. But I like, basically, I wanted to get in the game and just get rid of the money, because I don't want to cheat. I don't want that extra money. Get rid of it. What the fuck is this? I don't want to pay for an advantage.
Oh, by the way, speaking of gouging consumers, I don't know if this was a Photoshop or if it's actually a thing, but the same way that you can buy, like, prepaid phone cards, or you can buy, like prepaid Xbox Live Gold cards. I actually saw a prepaid money for GTA card. I don't know if that was just someone who photoshopped it as a look at the future.
I'm sure that exists. I'm fairly sure.
So you actually go into a GameStop and you pay like $15, and then you get a code, and you go home and you put that in your game, and you get money. I'm pretty sure that code was in GTA 1 as well. It was on the internet, and you just input it on your keyboard.
Yeah, you pressed Shift, Tab, Enter, and then you typed it in. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, to be honest. Yeah. But the thing, like, it must be so tempting. Because you look at a game like League of Legends. I'm not sure if you're into it. I distinctly remember you not being, actually. Or
I'm not really a competitive guy, so it's kind of hard for me. I've played it extensively with friends. If I went in and played League of Legends and I got a random asshole on my team, and let's be honest, that can happen sometimes.
If you play with people who aren't your friends, you're getting a random asshole.
Yes.
Likely Russian.
And the problem is, I'm a bit of a sensitive, special snowflake, precious flower. So if that happens, no lie, that can ruin my day. Sometimes it can ruin my day for 2-3 days. Just that I got some random asshole on my team.
Oh my god, Timu.
So stop feeding. I do play games like that, but I'm the kind of guy who's like, no, I'm not joining you guys. There's only 3 of you. I'm not playing unless we're a full 5-man pre-made.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment. Not so much because...
Tangent, by the way, we're making
a point. Sorry, I did have a question, or like a point to make. So League of Legends, they sell like skins for heroes, and they sell heroes.
Yes.
I'm not in love with that business model, because it is a competitive game, and it puts kind of an uneven playing field where you can sort of buy the best champions and they aren't unlocked for free. But it is free to play, so I can perfectly accept that business model. And as I was saying, I understand why it's so tempting for AAA developers to take that business model from a free game and put it into their $60 like AAA GTA game.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean. You said it yourself. You can live with that business model because
exactly.
Actually, one thing about League of Legends, it will take forever to get all the heroes, so I mean the criticism is valid, but I will just make the point that you do get points for playing. There are different kind of points than the ones you buy for money, so you can grind heroes. You can play the game enough and get heroes. However, you can't get the skins. The skins are real money only.
Yeah. That is something that League of Legends does better than something like World of Tanks. In World of Tanks,
who does it the best?
I don't know.
Path of Exile.
That's true, yeah. But like in World of Tanks, you can grind up and you can buy the upgrades and you can buy the new tanks and stuff. But then there are like premium upgrades, and I think there's also like premium ammo. And that currency you can't get, you need to pay for, and that's something that affects the game.
I don't give a shit about World of Tanks. I think it's an incredibly boring concept. I don't give a shit about tanks. I don't give a shit about World War II. And that still makes me mad, just hearing that. Even though I will never play that game, but I'm still mad just hearing you tell me about that.
I thought you were like gonna start yelling at me for bringing up World of Tanks.
No.
I don't care about this game. Why are you talking about this game? I don't give a shit about World War II. Like, oh, Jesus, calm down.
Only speak to my interests. Talk about tits.
I think we've fairly covered this question. If you want to move on to the next one.
Yeah. There's been every time a YouTuber comes up in chat, this could be PewDiePie or really any YouTuber, the conversation only goes so far before we get to the topic of whoring yourself out. That is kind of acting out in order to pander to your viewer base. Let's be honest. Let's be completely honest. If you knew that you could stream for a living, like you could make an actual real living that could pay for your base expenses, would you whore yourself out?
It depends on what you mean with whore myself out.
I mean,
would I try to sort of...
Would you be the latter good guy?
Would I change my presentation and everything to appeal to a much wider crowd? Like...
Let's say maybe not change it completely, but let's say maybe accentuate and exaggerate certain parts of it.
Well,
Would you play a character?
first of all, I think I kind of do that already. I think it's natural when it comes to streaming. I mean, I stream as myself, but I'm kind of a myself plus, or like,
Yeah.
if do you understand what I mean?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah, but you're talking about like going to the extreme and like
Not necessarily the
So-
extreme,
so
but
like-
taking it further.
yeah. So Let It Go got really popular because I guess I have a funny laugh, or my reaction was funny. So if I play every game and I start laughing or try to find something that's really funny and like play up that aspect, if I made a shitload of money, sure, yeah. I mean, I guess I would, as long as I can then also be myself and play games or whatever. It would be a job, I suppose. I don't know, like if I was able to have a separate channel from Dopelives where I could do that and do that as a living without it breaking the community. Because the community is really important to me, and I think it would really break if suddenly there was a shitload of viewers and everything like that. But then, sure, yeah, it beats going to an office and sitting there and fucking typing at a computer or whatever. But it would sort of be a job for me. If there was some sort of guarantee that I would have success whoring myself out, I think I would. But I'd still be me off camera, if that makes any sense.
You'd whore yourself out to a certain point.
Yeah, definitely.
I
I wouldn't like I wouldn't betray the community, because it is, as I said, very important. I wouldn't like betray my friends or stop hanging out with them and anything like that, because that's bullshit. But sure, if I have to go on camera and be a clown for 20 grand a month, sure, I'll do it.
All right. Well, that's a very honest answer. Thanks. What do you have?
Okay, this is a very, very important question.
Oh no.
Can jet fuel melt steel beams?
I'm not qualified to answer that.
What? What? Qualifications? You can't bring qualifications into conspiracy theories.
All right. In that case, I will be the cool kid, and since everyone is saying steel beams, what is it? Jet fuel.
Steel jets can't melt fuel beams?
Yes, everyone says jet fuel cannot melt steel beams, so I'm gonna be the cool contrary kid and say yes, it can.
Alright. Well, anyway, all of this is leading into conspiracies. It is a hobby of mine, I suppose, or an interest. I follow certain people who are heavily into conspiracies. I listen to a podcast and go to a few websites. I don't believe most of it myself, because it's really kooky stuff like aliens and lizard men and the world is a hologram and ancient aliens built the pyramids. But there are some things which are believable, but more so, it's really fun to listen to people who think that the world actually is like this. It's like...
So
it's
to you,
really
it's basically
interesting.
just a freak show. Just point and laugh at the weird hillbillies.
No, not really. It's not really a freak show, but... I don't know, it's not point and laugh, it's like point and... alright, that's interesting. How did you get to that conclusion? If you know what I mean. Anyway, the question I have for you is... Are there any conspiracies, or anything, I suppose, like shadowy, that you actually believe in?
I want to believe that George W. Bush conspired to make 9/11 happen.
Why do you want to believe that?
Because
Isn't it more comfortable to just think it was a random accident? Or maybe
I
it
feel
isn't
like-
more comfortable, actually.
I feel like the world in which the government of the United States of America conspired to kill 3,000 of their own to kind of start a war so they could boost up a faltering president, that's a much cooler, much more interesting, much more like those badass spy movies you see on TV world, rather than the boring slog that I kind of believe we actually live in. I want to believe 9/11 was an inside job, but I don't really believe in it. I just kind of wish it were, because it would be a cooler thing.
Yeah, I definitely sympathize and agree with that viewpoint, that I kind of wish that I could believe in a lot of these conspiracies, because the people who live in the world where that is the truth, because for them it really is the truth, they live in a much more interesting world.
Yeah.
Where a fucking plane crossing the sky, it isn't just fucking air particles
It's
condensing
a
because
demon!
of... Well, let's not get into the religious stuff, but, you know, it isn't just fucking moisture collecting in the air because of the exhaust of the plane. It's actually the government spraying something at us.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, also,
there's something
I'm,
appealing to that worldview.
I'm actually semi on one conspiracy, and people might mock me for this. I have to admit, I am agnostic about the moon landing.
Really?
I've seen some very well presented stuff, and again, I don't know, I'm not qualified to really decide whether it happened or not. I've heard some very plausible stuff that says it didn't happen, then I've heard some very plausible stuff disproving that, then I've heard some very plausible stuff disproving that.
Yeah,
that's
usually how it goes, pretty much.
On that one thing, I kind of have to lean back and say both sides make, as far as I've seen, both sides make such a good case that I can only declare myself agnostic. I don't know one way or the other.
The way I see it, since we're getting into it, we definitely have the technology and capability of sending a spaceship to the moon, seeing as we have satellites in orbits and all the technology we have on the Earth.
Yeah, but
did we in the 60s? I'm not sure.
But could we bring 4 guys there and bring them back?
That is a good question. I believe that we could do it today.
So, someone might pick up on it
believe that
and tell me why I'm wrong, but one of the things I heard against the moon landing is that there's a belt of radiation somewhere between the Earth and the moon. And this
belt of radiation?
Yes.
From what?
Area of radiation. I don't know. Space.
Alright.
Again, this might be complete bullshit, but it's one of the things I read. I read it on the internet. It's got to be true, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And we didn't know about this belt of radiation until the 80s or 90s. But the odds of getting through that belt are slim to none. Like, it's threading the needle. And we did not have the ability to do proper radiation shielding then. So we didn't know this in 69, if this is true. But if we had sent people through that belt, they would have been cooked by the radiation.
Fair enough. I think there are... Like, honestly, I believe that the moon landing was real, that we have landed on the moon, and what we saw was actually footage from the moon. I do believe that there are valid sort of... it's not really fair to call them theories, but I guess thoughts or ideas that we did land on the moon, but what was shown was recorded on Earth somewhere. Like, it was presentation, something that the public saw, but we really landed on the moon and something else happened, that kind of stuff.
The thing is, my view on the moon landing is actually the opposite of 9/11. I want the moon landing to be true. Because that is a fucking miracle, and that is a testament to our dominance as a species.
Yeah, and then we never went back. Well, we did a few times, but then we stopped. We really need another Cold War, really. Like, there needs to be some massive threat to Earth, so we start colonizing Mars already.
Honestly, I've seen on the internet that now someone's working on actually getting an official Earth flag.
Yeah,
I know it's stupid,
well.
But if that goes through, I actually think even something as simple as that. I mean, it's a symbol, and let's be real, a lot of people are simple-minded people.
Yeah.
And I really think that something as basic as having an Earth flag will help to unite us.
I don't know about that.
Maybe I'm just an optimist.
We have the UN flag and stuff already, I guess. That hasn't really helped the fucking Middle East, if you know what I mean. But yeah, anyway, let's get off the moon landing stuff. It is a very interesting topic, and I could make an hour's just conversation talking about it, because there's a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah. My question goes back into conspiracies.
Oh shit, alright.
I keep hearing how Sweden is becoming this liberal hellhole full of feminazis and oversensitivity. What is the reality like vis-a-vis that?
Vis-a-vis? Vis-a-vis.
Vis-a-vis.
I don't know, whatever. Well, you just described the reality, man. It's hell now.
I mean, how much
the feminazis have taken over, man.
I mean, they probably have, like, in the universities and in some of the papers, but everyday life, how much do you feel this tendency?
About 0%. Nobody has ever, like, interrupted my life to propagate some sort of feminism. I suppose 0% is unfair, because I suppose there are like quotas and stuff that might have affected me in some way that I don't know. But really, like with most media these days, it's really sensationalized. I remember people in chat, in the community that is, linking feminists in Sweden ban men from standing up at the toilet, that kind of stuff. And it's like, you go to the actual Swedish newspaper and read it, and it was a suggestion by like
one crazy feminist.
Well, pretty much like a youth group at a university or something, and never actually got put into effect. But then, you know, it goes to the Chinese whispers of the internet, and then it's on like the Breitbart.com or something, and it's like, men are no longer allowed to stand peeing up in Sweden. So a lot of it is just overblown hype.
So it's kind of like Fat Gun Happy America.
Yeah, exactly. We definitely have a culture of, I guess, acceptance these days, though. Or these days, I feel like we always had it. I guess it's kind of positive in a way that we are accepting to people. But at the same time, for example, if you want to discuss immigration, you're a racist. Like, you can't talk about immigration or trying to limit immigration or do some sort of immigration reform, because then you're a racist. You hate people who come here. You hate people who aren't white. You fucking racist. Stop talking about that. We're gonna leave it as it is.
So an intolerant acceptance. in that you must accept everything, and not doing that will not be tolerated.
Yeah. It's like, how dare you be prejudice against my prejudice.
Yeah.
But overall, I don't think the hype really lives up to the reality, to be honest. Oh. We're a pretty egalitarian society, to be sure, and there are certain things that have changed, as I mentioned, like the quotas and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, our society is fine. So I'm still allowed to be a man. I'm still allowed to watch porn. I'm still allowed to call women like bitches and hoes without being thrown in jail.
But
I'm
they
still
might kick your ass.
Hey, well, some of the trans people might. Sorry. But yeah, it's overblown, is the bottom line of that question, I guess.
So Sweden, liberal but not militantly so. All right.
Yeah.
Europe.
Or progressive but not militantly so. All right. So speaking of politics, I guess the question I have for you: do you vote?
I do not vote, no. I have some political beliefs, but basically what I believe would be the right way to have a democratic system cannot be put into work using the democratic system we have now.
You're gonna have to expand on that. That's interesting.
I believe in, I'm not even sure what the correct term is, but I basically believe that if, for example, if you vote on immigration, and I believe you should be allowed to vote on immigration, if you know what the fuck you're doing. You can't just vote based on some populist bullshit that's been spat in the medias. So,
oh damn, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You're gonna go like all elitist on this shit?
Very elitist. My idea, and it would be very hard to actually put into work because it would require a lot of logistics, is that basically when you vote on something, you also take a test on the topic. And if you get a passing grade on the test, your vote is counted. If you do not pass the test, your vote is discounted. Now, speaking to elitism, my idea wouldn't be that you had to have a higher education. The level of the test ideally should be so that if you don't know much about the subject, you'd have to study for 4 or 8 hours. So you just have to demonstrate a basic knowledge of what the hell the topic is about.
I think that the system you're talking about is super interesting, and I have, I guess, leanings that way myself. But I think that the problems with that system outweigh the solutions created by it, because it will be too exclusionary, and the people who make the test or make the decision will have far too much power, and if you're not voting them in, it would have to be established from the current system, and then it wouldn't really work. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. It's definitely not a flawless system, and if it was ever going to be put into practice, which it isn't, but if it were, there would definitely have to be put some serious work into ironing out those kinks.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
in Denmark, it couldn't be done because if you want to fuck with people's right to vote, then you have to fuck with the constitution. In order to change the constitution, you have to get it amended first through the I don't even know what's it called. We have some politicians somewhere.
Yeah, like the House of Representatives
Yes,
or whatever.
they have to approve it, and then it has to pass by popular vote, where 60%, not of the voters, but of the people allowed to vote, have to vote yes. So basically, in order to have it democratically happen, you'd have to get 2/3 of Danish voters to say, yes, I shouldn't be allowed to vote without knowing what I'm doing. And that's never going to happen. So if I'm ever going to get my system, it's going to be my soon forthcoming military coup.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain aspects of like a junta or like a council kind of system that have elements of what you're talking about that are pretty interesting, I think. Where instead of everybody voting, you vote. It's kind of like how it already works, I guess. Like you vote in representatives that then vote, but it's sort of more local. So like your town of 10,000 people pick 2 people who then get to go and vote for the political party, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they then get to basically disseminate those 10,000 votes.
Yeah. Like electoral college, I think it's called.
I actually think
like
that's
that,
closer to the original ancient Greek democratic model than what we have today.
What about well, actually, I was gonna ask you about direct democracy, but you would be against that, I can only assume, since you don't want many people to vote to begin with.
Actually,
or at least you don't want idiots to vote.
if you put my forced qualifier on it, I would prefer direct democracy.
Yeah. Well,
Everybody gets a vote, but if only they vote only counts if they know their shit.
That's true enough. One of the problems with that is there are often like 2 sides which are maybe not objectively equally valid, but almost, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's fine. Then people can look at the objective facts and make their own decision, and that's fine. I don't think this would kind of make everybody fall in line and vote the same. It would just force people to actually look at the issues and make a decision rather than voting for what they usually vote for. Voting because that guy looked nice on TV.
Yeah.
Voting because, man, those brown people sure sound scary when the nice blonde-haired lady talk about them. And stuff like that. They would have to actually sit down and go, well, what is immigration? What does it affect? What does it do? Okay, I know this now. Now I make my hyper-racist decision. That's fine. At least you know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, I definitely agree to some aspects of what you're saying. But as I said initially, I think there are a lot of problems with it.
Oh, definitely.
Anyway, I'm definitely satisfied with that answer. If you want to take your next question.
Yes. Oh, this is a good question. Why is Diablo 3 so much better than your favorite game?
It isn't?
No, I mean,
Is this
why
a
is
trick question?
No, actually...
Why is it? Because you have poor taste.
No, the idea is...
Because you're a brainwashed sheep.
Why do you think nerds get so rabid and defensive about their taste? Because anytime... Well, not every time, but a lot of times, if you say you like something and someone else doesn't like it, or you say you dislike something and someone else likes it, they will not only feel compelled to defend their taste rather than just
they'll call you a fucking moron idiot. God damn it, how dare you?
They will somehow feel that in order to defend the validity of their opinion, they need to attack you.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Why is that?
I'm not sure if that applies only to fanboyism. It's definitely very pronounced in sort of the fanboyish tribalism that emerges, I suppose. Just look at, SNES versus Mega Drive.
Oh boy.
Like the 16-bit console war.
Old school console war.
Exactly. Like, there was no rhyme or reason why you were on one side or the other. But you hated everyone who was on the other side. They were wrong, they were fucking stupid. How the fuck can you like Sonic more than Mario? Oh, this is so wrong! I mean, I've been taught that Mario is a superior game, so if you like Sonic, there must be something wrong with you. It's just, I think there's something fundamental in people where we can't sort of put ourselves in other people's point of view, in their shoes, to see what exactly, like, how their experiences have formed them, just like our experiences have formed us.
So you think it's like a primal ape thing?
It's not necessarily. There's definitely a sense of tribalism to it, where a community of people in the fucking Neolithic or before that, where you had a community of like 15 people, and if an outsider came in, he was almost guaranteed to be a threat, because he was going to steal from you or rape your women and make them pregnant with a baby that wasn't yours. So he was a threat. And that sort of evolution, or that has sort of evolved into today, where people who have a different skin color or have a different taste in music, people who don't like Metallica, like they're an enemy somehow.
Oh god, Metallica versus Megadeth. That's like that's like the metal version of PS3 versus Xbox 360.
League of Legends versus Dota 2. But yeah, I think it sort of stems from that, and I think it is really, really irrational for the most part. People just have different tastes. I mean, almost all of them are wrong, and only my tastes are the right ones, and the people who share my tastes have the right tastes, but I mean, people are allowed to be idiots, right? You like... I don't know what you like.
Diablo 3.
I
I unironically...
Oh, yeah,
like
that was a perfect example. You like Diablo 3. I don't hate the game, but I think it's kind of trash. But you're allowed to be stupid. I mean, I know in my heart of hearts that I'm right. But no, yeah, I definitely think there is this sort of tribalistic thing to it, where people don't like to be wrong, and they'll sort of, I guess, sort of push this onto others in a way. So if somebody else is wrong because they don't share the same opinion as you, that creates a sort of uncomfortable mental thing in your head where like, wait, other people don't agree with me, but my opinion is so good and so sacred. They must be stupid. They can't just have a different opinion. They're idiots. You know, they're definitely wrong.
So it's kind of in order to validate themselves.
Yeah. What is it? Fucking... Shit, not Discord. What is it? The fucking term?
Cognitive dissonance?
Yes, thank you. Cognitive dissonance. I think it's sort of an aspect of that, in a way, where you sort of have to defend your own bubble. I think it's just an innate thing that everybody does.
Alright.
It's very interesting being conscious of that and watching a discussion, or flame war, or whatever you want to call it, between two people on opposite sides, be it like Republicans and Democrats, or fucking PS3 and Xbox 360 fanboys. You know?
I know. I've seen that you will happily bait something like that to get it to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess, snobby, or sort of. I suppose I embiggen myself when I say that I try to sort of grow above that sort of, those sort of feelings as much as I can, and try to see the other side.
Try to maintain your objectiveness.
Yeah, exactly. Where if people really do present an argument...
Thought of the day. I think we should all just, once in a while, take a moment and try to be a little more objective.
Yeah.
Your moment of the day has been sponsored by...
And I'll insert the sponsor that we'll clearly have here.
Oh, yes.
If you go to audible.com, you can download a bunch of audiobooks.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, call your mother, send me your panties, blah, blah, blah.
Send me your panties?
Yes, I want your mama's panties.
Oh, damn, son. Speaking of your mother's panties, what are your thoughts on censorship? Is there stuff that the government should censor for the benefit of society? And if there is or there isn't, is there any line where you think that censorship is okay?
Yes, I believe there should be censorship.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there is too much censorship almost everywhere. I believe that there should be a lot less censorship, but I do believe that a very, very minimal degree of censorship is necessary, and that is basically there should be some degree of censorship from information that could be harmful to us.
So like the handbook, what the fuck is it called? The
Anarchist Cookbook?
Anarchist Cookbook. Like stuff like that? Or...
Well, I think the Anarchist Cookbook should be available to adults.
Okay.
We're able to...
Even though it teaches you to make pipe bombs and stuff?
Yes. We should be able to be responsible for our own actions. And it takes quite a lot of your own actions to make a pipe bomb. It's not like you go in the utility shed, you trip, you now have C4. But
That's what I told the jury. They bought it.
But at the same time, I mean, a teenager is barely human. If you look at brain function, a teenager is barely human. I would find it wildly irresponsible to let a teenager have access to the Anarchist Cookbook.
But what about the fucking what was I trying to say? What about, I don't know, Mortal Kombat or GTA?
No.
Where you get instructions of how to strangle people and put them in the trunk of a car, and
yes,
figure out how to break somebody's neck by twisting it, and how to load a gun. Like, where does that line go?
That line is to be decided by people a lot smarter than me. To be honest.
Yeah, that's fucking pussy answer. Come on.
No, my answer is I'm owning up to the fact that I'm not qualified to make that decision, because it is a very hard decision to make, and I believe that that decision should be made by some people who've put a lot of thought into it, a lot of work, and really know their shit.
All right. What about
stuff like Mortal Kombat, which isn't dangerous. Mortal Kombat isn't dangerous. You can argue it's horrific, it's gruesome, it's bloody, sure.
Yeah, that's a totally different argument,
yes,
though.
and I believe that there should be a form of censorship for that as well, called parental guidance.
Yeah, agree.
And that is nobody else's business. I believe a game like Mortal Kombat, it should have like an R rated on it, and that means that's just basically advice to parents. Hey, parents, you really want to check this out before you let your kid have it unsupervised, because it's your goddamn responsibility. You spawned the little shit, now you take care of it.
Alright. But what if some kid watches Mortal Kombat and tries to replicate it on the playground?
Then he has poor parenting.
Alright. So should children not be allowed, or it's up to their parents?
Should be able to...
Sorry, go ahead.
Parents should be able to estimate whether it would be responsible to let their particular child, they should know their child better than anyone, whether it's responsible to let their particular child have access to this kind of media, and they should take the responsibility of having a dialogue with their child about this media as necessary so the child can process it in a responsible way.
I think you're really giving parents too much credit.
No,
most parents are fucking retards.
Well, I come from the viewpoint where you need a license to have children.
But that's not reality, though.
But that's...
Let's talk about the real world instead of your fantasy world.
Well, we're talking about...
In this world where parents are irresponsible, or children go on the internet and find these kind of things on their own, isn't it just better if the government just bans them?
No.
Why not?
Because... it has some benefits, but I believe the costs in... how do I phrase this? The cost to our culture by limiting the information we can disseminate between us is too heavy compared to the benefits.
Do you think there would be some kind of chilling effect? Like, people would be afraid of creating things that might fall under censorship, so they'd tone things down, and maybe they wouldn't write this book about this horrible rape or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I think the self-censorship would eventually be harsher than the actual censorship.
Alright. Just to be clear, since we have viewers, and it's not just you and I talking, I'm definitely on your side here. I'm basically playing devil's advocate.
Okay,
just so that's clear, yeah. Because I think it's really valuable to discuss these kind of things from both points. Like, I can see the arguments I'm making. I'm not just making them and I think they're retarded. Yeah, I'm making them and I understand them. I just kind of disagree with them.
Kind of a good way of phrasing why I believe there should be as little censorship as possible and why I believe censoring it would be bad. Because we need the dialogue. We need to bring up every possible topic and have a dialogue about it, because it's always healthier to have a dialogue than to suppress.
Yeah, that's...
It's like when people said, you shouldn't ever consider something or other. You shouldn't ever consider murdering a child. Yes, you should. And then you should probably reject it, because it's a hella bad idea.
If you never consider it, how do you figure out it's bad, you know?
If you say, I wouldn't even consider doing that, you already fucking considered it.
That's true. And I also think people who say, like, well, there can't be any value in just sadism. Well, why not? Why can't we make a game or movie about sadism that explores it and teaches people about it.
Yeah,
or just let people have an outlet for that matter.
And hey, maybe there is no value in sadism, but then let's have the conversation and let's actually explore it and reach the conclusion rather than just dismissing it offhand.
Yeah, I think one of the major problems with censorship is that basically who decides. I think that is one of the major issues. I'm generally against censorship in general. I think there are a few places where censorship is necessary, like child pornography, murders, stuff like that. And also, I suppose it doesn't really fall into censorship, but for privacy reasons, you can't show certain things or share certain things. It's not really censorship then, but I guess it's kind of related.
No, actually that is a kind of censorship as well, and I agree that should be there. Like, somebody shouldn't have their face shown on TV unless A, they agree to it, or B, they're a wanted criminal.
I'm not even sure about the wanted criminal, to be honest. Well, unless you're talking about like a manhunt where people... Yeah, then sure. I really dislike the American practice of a perp walk. Do you know what that is?
No.
Where you arrest someone, usually a celebrity, because they are the ones who get the paparazzi there.
Walk them up the stairs of the courthouse.
And there's like 10 movie cameras filming them for news, and they're like walking them out into the car. That kind of stuff. That's illegal here in Sweden. You're basically allowed to have anonymity as you are arrested, and news media isn't allowed to show it, and I think that's a good thing.
I think that's pretty much the way it is here in Denmark as well.
The reason, though, because if you are a criminal and you've done a bad act, I guess maybe it's okay for society to know it. But those perp walks in particular, they're just suspects at that point.
Yeah.
But like, Julia Roberts arrested on murder charges. And then whenever somebody hears Julia Roberts, it's like, oh yeah, she was arrested for murder charges. She's a murderer.
Or even better, Julia Roberts arrested for suspicions of pedophilia. Yeah, because then she is just a pedophile. Because that particular field, you crimes. Are always guilty. Even if you are cleared of all charges, well, they just didn't have enough evidence. You're probably guilty anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think the issue of censorship is pretty interesting. But I think you've given a very good answer, and there are a few more questions we should get to, I guess.
Yeah, the next one is one I really want to get in. They seem to be all the rage these days. They're very popular, especially if you listen to chat. I'm not even talking about in the anime channel. I'm talking about in the main chat. So I have to ask you, because I don't think you've ever addressed this. And the people need to know, Senator. Do you have a waifu?
I really like that build-up. I'm not entirely sure what a waifu is.
Neither am I.
Is a waifu like... It started, I believe, on like 4chan or maybe something awful as like a joke where you posted like a picture of somebody in an anime, like, that's my waifu. Like, I really like that character. I have a strong sort of, maybe even emotional connection to that character in the anime. But then it, through like the Japanese otaku culture kind of thing, it developed into, you know, like body pillows, and you buy figurines, and you're basically... It's almost like a religion where...
Yeah, worship.
No, you can't masturbate. That's cheating on your waifu.
Yeah.
Like, what? But it's not real. It's...
You can't cheat. That's masturbating on your waifu.
Well, I have seen people masturbate on their waifu.
I actually think I had a waifu.
Oh?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure and actually I had a furry waifu.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because my...
Oh my god, this conversation is over, sir!
My first crush, as I remember it, was Cheetara from the Thundercats.
Well, as I said, I do remember you saying this, and I'm not sure Cheetara is actually furry. She's
furrish.
Like Neko. She's furrish, yeah, fair enough. But no, yeah, I definitely understand that, and I think that people need to be able to fall in love with characters, because... If we can't have emotional connections to characters in fiction, then why the hell do we read stories, you know? Good if you point. Can't feel afraid that, oh shit, Arya is dying. No, I really like her. Then why would you ever care about Game of Thrones?
Do you feel there's a meaningful distinction, though, between really caring and having an emotional connection with a character and falling in love with the character and kind of dedicating yourself to it?
Definitely. I'm not sure exactly what love is. It's such an ambiguous
I want to
thing.
know
That's-
what love is.
It's such an ambiguous
I want to
thing.
know what love is.
Baby, don't hurt me. Okay, there we go. Mixing two songs. Anyway,
The remix.
the remix. Coming up next on the morning show here at 29.5 FM. Commercial break.
One thing about waifus in favor of waifus, I've seen this argument used online, like, she's not real, you can't ever touch her, so why would you jerk off to a cartoon? But the thing is, when I watch Alexis Texas take it in the ass from two big black men, I'm never gonna touch her as well. She's never gonna slide that beautiful shapely ass down over my cock. So
Come on, man, don't sell yourself
That's-
short. You never know that.
I mean, jacking off.
Gotta live for the fantasy, man. But no, I definitely agree with you. Like, how people look down on animated porn or like drawn porn is fucking stupid. Because it's also just a fantasy. Like, if you can accept that somebody reads a story or even watches, you know, filmed or photographed actual people, then where exactly is the difference in watching hentai or, you know, art kind of stuff?
I actually think when I look at a cartoon character and I'm turned on by her, or him, or it, I actually
Oh,
think
damn, son.
I actually think I'm subconsciously translating it. I actually think I'm going, man, I would bang her if she was a person. Or I'm thinking, man, I would bang her if I was a cartoon character as well.
Yeah.
It's not like, man, I want to print her out and just poke her till I get paper cuts on my dick.
If people want to do that, fair enough, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I totally agree with you.
I'm pretty sure
But-
paper cuts on your dick is a fetish, and probably also a .com.
We should register it. This podcast is now known as Paper Cuts on Your Dick Cast.
Well, we were debating before we started what to call it.
Yeah, well, there we go. There we go. Paper Cuts on Your Dick with Dope and Sir Anderson.
Man, that's gonna be that's
Perfect.
gonna get like 7 billion YouTube views. This is gonna be the next ladder girl.
But yeah, anyway, getting back to the topic at hand.
And I see what you did there.
Thank you. You didn't forget this joke.
I didn't forget one earlier, did I? I don't remember.
God. Well, it seems like you have some amnesia. Anyway, God, we
It's
should
D&D
stop
all over.
after. It's D&D all over again. Yeah, can we go back to talking about dicks again?
Why haven't we done a dick cast?
Oh man, we should do it next episode, man. Dickcast.
Yeah.
Talk about how the phallic symbol is represented in.
Talk about how STEM is completely sexist because all rockets are phallic shaped.
Where are my vagina missiles? Oh god.
That is what I'm
Fucking-
going to call my dick from now on, by the way. The vagina
The
missile.
vagina rocket? The vagina missile? Yeah. Right, anyway, so yeah, waifus. I think if you sort of get obsessed with a character to the point where you start to abandon real life, it's harmful in some ways. If you start to, give up your responsibilities or, stop going outside even, then it's harmful. But otherwise, if you have a character that you're attached to that you really like, you put up posters on your wall, you buy figurines, you fucking come all over her printed out pictures after she's cut your dick with the paper, that's fine. I just think it might be harmful when it gets to a certain level.
I'm sorry,
But I also
I
don't...
lost my train of thought. Are you talking about a waifu or just an MMO character right now? Because it seems equally applicable.
Yes, that is true. I was just about to say that. At the same time, I don't think that it's exclusive to, like, anime waifus. I think the same applies to pretty much anything. It can be, like, online gambling, or you can be obsessed with fucking building rail tracks or some shit. Like, anything that becomes a complete obsession or addiction is harmful in some way. But if it doesn't get to that level, I don't fucking care, do you, man? If you want to have an anime waifu, then go ahead.
So just to wrap up and confirm.
No, hang on.
okay.
Before this, I have to say a word of warning. If you have more than one waifu, come on, don't you know the rest?
No.
More than one waifu will destroy your life.
Oh, that's right. I've forgotten about that. I'm not really into that whole thing. I also have to say, just to get this out there, Hanako is the worst waifu. Hanako and everyone on the cast of Angel Beats are shit waifus.
I agree. And anybody who would get a tattoo of Angel Beats, wow, what a retard.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I have the mic. I have to take the cheap shot.
Yeah, yeah.
But okay,
nobody
so just to
who
confirm,
listens to, like 2 people who listen to this will understand what we just said, but that's fine. So just to
confirm and wrap up, the dope verdict is have a waifu, that's fine, but just like a real woman, don't let that fucking bitch take over your entire life.
Yeah, you gotta put that bitch in her place.
Alright, so smack your waifu is what you're saying.
Yes.
Dope officially condones violence against waifus.
Yeah, whatever floats your boat, man.
That's another name. Violence Against Waifus cast.
It's even got fucking alliteration in there. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Although it's V and W.
Yeah.
It wouldn't look so good in text.
Violentwaifus.com, another name to register.
Waifus...
How do you...
Right, so...
How do you spell that? 1 or 2
So speaking of beating up your wife, I think the next podcast, because I assume we'll do another one, we'll be talking about, amongst other things, transsexuals.
Yay! And how I have yet to manage to fuck one.
Yeah, that's a damn shame.
Yeah.
Also the very nebulous topic of feminism. So look forward to that.
Yeah, and so when is this going out?
So ask me that after we've finished. Jesus. Come on, say goodbye.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening.